Taehyung open his eyes by hearing her words and grabs her jaw and smash his greater than p on her with little anger and give her a punishable pi increment square root ghk and says, Taehyung, you should not have to. Stop yourself. If you had told me these words earlier, you would not have had to trouble your mouth so much. After listening Taehyung words, she understands what he meant. YN says with little angry voice, if you are done, then let me change your clothes, or I will leave. Taehyung says with a smirk, my little kitten showing attitude, huh, look at yourself. Where you are sitting on your knees. Don't you think you should shut your mouth? In this position, YN stand up from between Taehyung euro greater than GS and trun towards the door for leave. The room, but Taehyung grabs her waist from back and places her at greater than $$ to his greater than at p forcefully and says, Taehyung, where are you going without changing my clothes, huh? You were here for help me, then just do it. Listening Taehyung words, YN start to unbuttoning Taehyung's shirt with annoyingly but carefully, not hurtedly. Taehyung sees YN frustrated face and says, my little kitten got pissed off so quickly, huh? YN didn't reply him and removing his shirt while looking at Taehyung's injured shoulder bandage, and she found that there is no blood on his bandage. So she feels little relief. After 15 minutes, Taehyung and YN both on the dining table for dinner as YN serving food to Taehyung plate and her plate. She was totally forget about the little cat which she was leave on the sofa because Taehyung takes her all attention. They both start eating their food. Then suddenly YN listen mau mau sound from sofa. YN says, oh, I forget, my kitty must be hungry too. She says and stand up from dining table with a full of bowl milk and go towards the little cat and sit on sofa. YN is sitting on the sofa and starts feeding the cat on her lap. Taehyung looking at her with glare. Taehyung says himself, how could this little animal take her all attention? Can't she see I am the one who injured? I am the one who needs love and care. He says and stand up from dining table without eating a bit of food and went to his study room. After feeding cat, YN looked towards the dining table to see Taehyung, but she found empty dining table. She thought Taehyung finishes his food, but when she goes towards the dining table, she found out that Taehyung didn't eat his food even a bite. YN says to herself, what happened to him? Didn't he like my cooked food? I will cook another one for him. He needs to eat food for takes medicine, she says and goes to kitchen and cooked another food for him and go towards his study room with a food tray to feed him. She sees Taehyung sitting on his study table chair and doing his office work. Door of the study room is already open, but still she knocks on the door for his permission. Listening to the door knocking sound, Taehyung turned towards the door, but after seeing YN he ignored her. Again doing his office work, as YN enter into room with food tray. YN goes towards him and says, Tae, eat your meal. I cooked another one. Taehyung doesn't reply, not even giving her a single glance. YN annoyed by his ignorance behavior as she cup his face by her both little hands and turns his face towards her to face him and says, YN, what happened? Tae, why are you not eating food? Taehyung glare at her and says, feed me. YN confusedly says, what? Taehyung replied, you can feed a little animal but not your own husband, huh? Listening Taehyung words, she understands that he is jealous by a little cat. YN reply, Tae, it's just an animal, just a little cat, how could you be jealous of it? Taehyung removes her hands from his face and says, leave. I don't have time to argue with you, he says, and again doing this work hand. YN says, okay, I will feed you. I don't want any argument, I just want to feed you, that's it. YN placed the food tray on the table, and Taehyung says, sight. She thought he was saying sit her on a chair, as she was about to sit on a chair next to Taehyung. But Taehyung removed the chair which on YN about to sitting and place his own chair. Therefore sit her on his at less than page, as YN at greater than $$ land on Taehyung at less than p, and she understands where she was sitting, so quickly tried to stand up from Taehyung greater than at p, but he tightly grips her W at greater than $T, and Taehyung says, feed me, I don't have much time to waste. Sitting on his greater than at P is not normal for her. She still feels awkward, but she ignores it and take the spoon from the food tray and about to feed him by spoon, but Taehyung stopped her and Taehyung says, "Did I told you to feed me by spoon?" YN questions, "Then what you want Tae?" Taehyung replied, "Feed me by your m square root th." YN roll eyes on him annoyingly. And Taehyung see it. Taehyung says, "If you can't do that, then take off your at dollar less than dollar from my at greater than P and get out with your food." He says, and again doing his paperwork. Somehow he also knows that YN can't do that. In the other hand, YN know that how much he is stubborn. YN says herself in mind, "No matter what happens, I will have to feed Tae to give him medicine." She says and takes a spoon with food and takes it into m increment square root th and again the cup Taehyung face. And attached her greater than PS to him for feeding him. Taehyung eyes are wide in surprises by YN action. YN tried to make him feed the food by her m increment square root th, but she notices that Taehyung not opening his m increment square root th because he was shocked, so YN slid her one hand to under the Taehyung's high T and pinched to his left end. 9 feet, 9 E for open his m increment square root th as he gasped by her pinch and opened his m increment square root th. And YN puts all the food to Taehyung m increment greater than square root th by her m increment greater than square root th, but Taehyung didn't swallow the food, so YN squeeze his left C greater than euro dollar T for sigh him to swallow the food. And he swallowed the food. So YN remove her greater than P from his m increment square root th as Taehyung starts coughing. By all of this state, seeing Taehyung coughing, YN patted Taehyung back to calm him and give him a water for drink. Taehyung drinks the water. YN says, "Are you okay Tae? I am sorry. Next time I will feed you better." She says and again take a food of spoon and put into her m increment square root th. And go towards his m increment square root th to feed him, but Taehyung stopped her by putting his index finger to her PS and says, "Feed me by spoon." YN nodded her head and started feeding him by spoon. As Taehyung doing his work and YN was on Tae at greater than page. After feeding half the food to Taehyung, YN says, "Tae, can I sit on an actual chair?" Taehyung says while chewing the food and doing office paperwork. "Why?" YN reply, "I am a little uncomfortable here." Taehyung says, "What happened with my at greater than page?" YN reply, "Hasida Tedley, I can feel your, you know, carrot underscore carrot." Taehyung reply, "No darling, I don't." "Why don't you name it?" Says with a little smirk. YN didn't reply because she was annoyed by his tease. Taehyung says, "Why are feeling uncomfortable by my j square root n greater than 0 r when it's only for you? Don't you think you should take care of him? You know how he about say, but in the middle of Taehyung talk, YN feed him a full of spoon food and make Taehyung mouth shut. YN taunts him, "You look good when your mouth shut." Listening, YN taunts Taehyung cup her clothes B at B by his hand and pinch it H at pi D. Because he was chewing the huge amount of food which YN feed him, and YN grasped H at road and flinched by his pinch on her sensitive N greater than 9 feet, 9 euro, and jump out by his greater than at page. YN shout, "Tae." Taehyung says, "Why are you overreacting? You also pinch my C greater than euro dollar T. You also did the same to me, so the score is equal." YN reply, "Tae, you are a man and I am a woman, you can't do this to a woman." Taehyung pulls her again into his at greater than P and says, "I know you are a woman, but don't forget that. You are my woman and I can do that with my women." YN reply, "No you can't, it hurts." Taehyung replied, "Oh it hurts, let me caressing it gently." He is about to touch her B at B again. But YN cross hands to her C greater than euro dollar T to not to let him do that again. Suddenly Tae listen growling sound from YN's stomach, and he understands. YN was not having her dinner. Taehyung says, "Haven't you eaten your dinner yet?" YN reply, I was cooking another food for you and feed you, that's why I forgot to eat. Taehyung says while standing her from his at greater than P, go eat and sleep. YN reply, let me feed you, after that I will go to eat. Taehyung replied, I will eat myself, you go. YN says by ordering tone, make sure you take your medicine after eating food. Taehyung says while listening to her ordering tone, do you wanna ride it on my at greater than P again? YN says quickly, no, I am going, she says and turns towards the door. And going out slowly with a small step. YN reach on the door and turn towards him. And says again, YN. Glare at her and YN quickly run towards the dining table for dinner. After a while YN finished her dinner. She went to her room for sleep. She entered the room and found that the little cat was playing alone on the couch. YN smile and go towards the cat and sit on the couch and put the little cat into her lap. And says, YN, you know little kitty, my 27-year-old hubby gets jealous of you. She says with mocking. YN say, I am not sleepy and also bored, so let's play until my hubby comes. She says and starts playing with the little cat, but she doesn't know when she fell asleep on the couch while playing with the cat, and cat was sleeping on YN's chest peacefully. And YN hugging the cat from both hands. After completing office work, Taehyung came to his room and found YN sleeping on the couch with cat while hugging her into her chest. Seeing YN hugging the cat like that into her chest, Taehyung gets extremely jealous of cat. He picks the cat up from the YN's chest and goes towards the balcony and kick out the cat. As cat starts making meow meow sound, listening by meow meow sound, YN also waking up from the sleep and look at the Taehyung who was kicking out the cat. YN shout to stop him, Tae, don't kick out my cat. Taehyung repeat YN words with a chuckle, my cat, as he kicked out the cat from the balcony and turned towards YN and says, now it's your time to be punished. YN says, but why? Before she says more, Taehyung kick her up to his left shoulder and go towards the bed and throw her on the king-size bed as her body bounce on the bed. And YN tries to get off the bed, but Taehyung climbs on the bed and sits on YN's upper T greater than GH, so she will not get out of bed. Taehyung says, how could you give my place to that cat? He says while unbutton his S greater than pi T and H increment square root euro pi. Ing on her as YN body gets frightened by Taehyung action and YN struggling to go away from Taehyung. YN says, Tae, what are you doing, please stop it. YN put her hands between while struggling to stop him, but Taehyung pin her both hands on above her head by his left hand and he pi euro m greater than 0 square root euro in his S. Pi T and T euro her hands by shirt on the headboard of B euro D. Taehyung says, I told you to eat and sleep, but I don't tell you to sleep with cat. How did you let that cat sleep on you? Now it's my time to sleep on increment you all night. He says and sleeps over her body and he places his head on YN's chest like a little cat. YN says in shocking, what? No Tae, look at yourself, how could you compare yourself to cat? She added more, don't you think you are too huge for sleep on me? Do you wanna crush my body by your weight? She says try to put some sense in this large bulky but brainless man, but he doesn't listen to her and sleeps on her as YN trying to open her tie hands from headboard and moving away her body from Taehyung's heavy body and her chest getting up and down by her heavy breath. YN says, Tae, move away, as Taehyung was not responding because he was trying to sleep cause he was tired from heavy work, but the way YN was struggling under him, he gets disturbed. Taehyung rubbed his face on YN's chest and inhaled her N euro K and said, you know how much I like strawberry you smell the same like my favorite strawberry. Do you want me to T it and T euro you right now P. Greater than cent K her co AR bone N. Sliding his head down to YN cleavage while greater than cent K, ing it and bury his head there, is when YN fills Taehyung's greater than PS on her collarbone and cleavage she froze in her place. Taehyung gets her fraught state and says, "Let me sleep peacefully without any disturbance. Or I relieve the tiredness of my body by using your B increment D." Listening to the Taehyung words, she stopped moving and let him sleep without disturbance. After an hour, YN feels her eyes get heavy and she also fell asleep in the same position. As Taehyung knows she was tiny as compared to his big frame. So small and vulnerable. As he could sense the abnormality of her heartbeat, because of his heavy weight on her. She is having difficulty to breath. So he changes their position, and he lays down and makes her sleep on him and place her head on his chest. Cause of all this movement, sleepy YN trying to open her eyes. But Taehyung moves her head softly and says, "Shh, sleep." Next morning, Taehyung woke up early and go for bathroom for get ready for the office without disturbing YN's sleep. As YN wakes up by water dripping sound, YN moves her hands there on bed. To find Taehyung in sleep as her eyes were closed, but she didn't find Taehyung in bed. So she opened her eyes to find him as she got that Taehyung was bathing and she went towards the bathroom door and knocks and says, "Tae, are you bathing? Let me help you." Open the door. After 15 minutes, Taehyung opened the door while buttoning his shirt and sees YN yawning face and says, "Taehyung, if you are feeling sleepy then go to sleep. I have to go to the office early today for a meeting." YN says, "No, it's okay, I am not sleepy. Did you wet your bandage?" Ellipsis. Taehyung replied, "No, I bathed carefully." YN sees him up and down and finds that he is already ready for office, so she says, "Okay, I am going to make breakfast for you." After dinner, Taehyung was on the door for going to the office. YN says, "Worry, Tae, can't you take leave at least for a few days? Your health is also not good. If you rest for a few days, your injury will also heal quickly. You sleep late at night and go to the office early in the morning." Taehyung replied, "I can't." YN asked, "But why?" Taehyung says, "Because I am afraid." YN asks, "Afraid of what?" Tae. Taehyung reply, "I am afraid that if someone becomes richer than me, my wife will leave me and go to other man." He says and leave for the office, and there YN standing with a heartbroken heart by his words. The way he was thinking about her. But she was not blaming him for that because she was the one who made her character like this in front of him so she can break up with him, and give him a reason to move on from her. She can't control her tears, start flowing from his cheek and crying out. Time skip. After Taehyung went to the office, YN again, feeling an uneven moment in the house. She was thinking about a cat, but the cat didn't come today. She feels alone and dread. So YN closed her balcony glasses. As usual, she went for a bath. After 15 minutes, YN comes out of the bathroom after taking a bath, wrapping her towel around her chest and while drying her wet hair with another towel. She sits on the dressing table and remembering the last night incident, that how Taehyung got jealous by a little cat. And the morning incident. Taehyung's words make her feel low, but suddenly she again feels something uneven moment from the balcony, but at that time she was not scared and smile happily and go towards the balcony for who was there, because she thought it was her kitty. YN go towards the balcony glasses while calling, "Kitty, kitty, kitty it, you." And she was waiting for kitty meow meow sound to reply to her, but she got no response. YN already locked balcony glasses after Taehyung went to the office. YN decides to open the balcony glasses because she thought that kitty is on the balcony. So she opens the glass, a little, to see with a smile to see kitty there. But her smile fades away when she sees a shadow of a person on the balcony. YN says while controlling her fears, "Who is there?" She gets no response. She didn't know what was there and did not even clearly see that shadow was of a person. Or something else. She can't take any risk cause she was alone in home. So she decided to close the balcony glasses and lock it immediately, but her blood got cold when she sees someone interpret a black grabs hands between the glass. For not letting her close the glass, YN looked at his hand and looked at his face to see the face of a person, and she sees as soon as YN sees the man, the first face that comes to her mind is that of the thief. Because she has seen that the man had his face completely covered. He is wearing a black mark and a black cap. Seeing all this, In's body becomes completely alert and frightened. Without thinking, twins YN tightly grips the balcony glass and forcefully tried to close it. YN was about to close the window completely in one go, with force. But she realized that the man's hand was in the middle of the window, due to which the man's hand gets hurt and he screams in pain, and she gets scared hearing his scream, but she does not stop there and again try to close the glass. But that man not letting her close the glass and forcefully tried to open the glass for enter into the room. And YN was trying her best not to let him open the glasses, but her all tried to get fell. When that man used his all force and opened the glass with a jerk, as YN fell down on the floor by his force, and she was only wrapping a towel around her chest, which is barely covering her teeth. GH's cause of fell down on the floor and her towel grip got loosened from her chest and her upper milky white teeth. GHS is fully visible in front of that man, and her wet massy long hair on her body. YN trying to cover her B increment D square root before that man eyes land on her, but she found that man's eyes were already glaring at her lustily. As YN crawl back, seeing a man stepping towards her, YN shout, "Taehyung, Taehyung, Taehyung," as she looks at the man who stops in his place, seeing her shout. YN says to man, "My husband is at home, he will come listening to my scream. As he caught you and called the cops for you." YN says, "It's good for you to leave before my husband comes into the room." YN tries to threaten and intimidate the man so that he leaves the place, but that man smirks while looking at her, fooling threaten while stepping towards her. And "I know you all alone in home. He doesn't have time for you." Listening to that man's word, YN is mysterious about how he knew about that. YN says, "Who are you, what you want? If you are a thief and here to steal the money, then I will give, just don't do anything," that man says while coming close towards her. "Man, thief, not bad, but I am not here to steal money. I am here to steal you." Laying half-an at greater than K-D body on the floor and trying to touch her expose T. GHS from his hands, but YN jerk his hands and show YN, "Don't dare to touch," as she, falling back scarredly and trying to stand up and go towards the door. But that man grabs her wrist and pulls her toward him. YN shout again, "You dirty bastard, remove your dirty hands from my wrist." Man says, "You little WH increment pi euro has a sharp tongue, let's see how you're sharp. Tongue work on my B. Greater than degree less than K." YN says with rage, "I have sharp teeth too, do you wanna see her?" She says and bites his right hand, which he holds her wrist. And that man feels a sharp biting pain on his hands as he immediately leaves her wrist from his grip and shout, "UF greater than King D. T greater than Cent H." YN running towards the door, and her hand almost reaches the door knobs to open the door, but that man pulls H euro pi back by H euro pi off, pi in his F, $T. YN screams in pain by his tight grip on her hair. YN, "Aw, leave my hair, UF greater than K. In bastard." That man pulls her close to his chest by H euro pi H hat. Pi harshly by his left hand as YN bare back touches his chest by his force, and that man smells her neck creepily, as she feels disgusting by his touch, his smell making her vulgar and obnoxious. YN struggling to remove his hands from her hair, but that man pulls her hair more harshly and her head arched back and her heartbeat increases continuously in fear. That man grabs YN's N euro K tightly with his right hand and slides his hands down towards YNCH euro greater than in T and grab her T increment W euro, which is around her CH euro greater than in T for pull down. Seeing that man action, YN hold that man's right hand tightly in fear for stop him. YN shout loudly, "No, no, no, please don't that, please no." She pleaded with him to not do such a thing to her, but he doesn't listen to her. And th pi increment wh euro pi and b euro d. YN quickly crawling back on bed and says, I warn you, if you do not stop right now you will regret it. He ignores her words and starts ho square root euro pi. Ing over her with square root and t. YN shout, now it's enough, she says, and kicks that man, where the sun doesn't shine. He collapsed on another side of b euro d and g pi increment at greater than n. Ing with pain. YN could only tolerate Taehyung's touch in his presence and could not tolerate anyone else's t increment square root ch being closer to her than Taehyung. She was trying to control her fear just for Taehyung. She is about to run out of the room, but her eyes go towards the phone which was on the dressing table. She reached the phone and dial of the Taehyung number immediately, but suddenly somewhere on the floor and holds her waist from behind and does not let her move, starting hey and greater than in her backhand ear. Spray and a handkerchief from his pocket. YN understands that the man wants to try to render her unconscious, as she runs towards the door and come out from the room, and that man also follows her. YN doesn't think anything and starts running blindly towards the main door. Without caring stares as she reaches the main door. She bumps into someone. Hard chest, her legs are shaking in fear and her eyes are tightly closed and scared. She thought that the person standing in front of her was a thief, as she was backing off. Panicked, but that man held her arm tightly. YN shout with her lungs out, you left greater than king bastard. Leave me. Don't dare to touch me. I will kill you if you do anything to me.